Hello and welcome. My name is Letty and I am your friendly neighborhood TA. This is my narrated speed paint / guide to your midterm and final for CPI321. This came about when I was planning that texture paint workshop I did over spring break and I got carried away with it, so I decided to do this video where I do an example speed paint and also show you what I did for these assignments when I took the class. So without further ado, let's get started. I began by blocking out the ground and the sky. The idea was to have a cliff that faces the open sky with fluffy clouds. To incorporate the rock texture, I wanted to do some sort of pedestal. The green made me want to do a purple portal. To make it not entirely look like Minecraft, I made it a triangle. And then I decided to add some trees just to fill it up a bit more, and also I think it would be fun to go over some textures of trees. And here I blocked out the clouds. This is something that we did before in class, but again, it's just you block out shapes, you think in 3D terms like spheres and stuff. If you really break it down, you add highlights and shadows and cast shadows. I decided to add 2 moons just to show that this is not Earth. And for the clouds, I used a square brush, so that's why all the clouds look square. I was gonna finish it with a round brush, but I never went back to it, so it just stayed like this. Sprinkled in some stars. The name kind of came about because the whole piece had an atmospheric feeling to it. I also realized that the S was too small, so I fixed that at the end. Here I am shading in the grass a bit more, adding some shadows where there needs to be, and some highlights. And I have this brush that has built-in bristles, so if I do tiny little upstrokes, that's how I get those tiny grass blade textures. But later on, I go in with a brush pen to add those singular blades of grass. Here I go over with an overlay brush with pink on the clouds and yellow on the grass, just to separate that a bit more and also add a bit more atmosphere. Here I decided I want a desert environment just to contrast with this and to show that this portal can kind of take you anywhere you want to go. The rocks, at first I really separated all the shapes, but I didn't like that, so I kind of blended them together because it had looked a bit frail. And here is the same concept of starting with the lights and going in with the shadows. I added some blue overlay on the right side, and I went in with purple overlay and screen layers with the same color just to add that purple glow. So again, when shading, just worry about what the base color is, and then you can go in with multiply and overlay and screen layers to add that tone, that color, and lighting shadows to it. I made it darker as you come forward, lighter as you go away. The sky is a little more pink at the bottom, but if you go outside and you look, the sky is lighter at the horizon and it is darker the further up you go. And here I'm going over the ground. This is the stone texture we went over on the workshop. This is pretty much what we did. You block out the shape and then you go in with the shadow. You block out where the stones are gonna be. You go in with light and shadows and just blend that in a bit more. For the trees, I had this brush, this leaves brush that I had never used before. And when using it, I was like, this is too much. This is too full. So I decided to go with an emptier look to it. For the shadows on the branches, I created a clipping mask on multiply. I added the leaves shadows for the portal. So I just went in and I added scribbles and then a crystallize effect. And you get that by going to filter, pixelate, crystallize. And you can mess with the settings on that there. Then I had a screen blend mode and I added some more glows to it. For the stones, again, same thing, is light and then detail. Light, shadow, and then detail. And then add some shadows to the back of it. Always keep in mind the direction of your light because that really tells you where things are. Here I just go in with a pencil brush and add some more details to the grass. This is why it's also helpful to mirror your image. If something is too heavy on one side, and if you mirror it, this is when things pop out in your face. And then I go with overlay and just add some more glowy magic thing to it. I think I used light blue and purple and some yellow in the back just to add that flowiness to it. And then I shaded in the little guy and again, add shadow and light to it just so that it looks like they're in the environment. I also took some birds brushes that I had and just added that. And this is how I created this Atmos drawing. For your midterm, this would have been completely acceptable because this is just your proposal. It is a sketch, but it can't be a 5-minute doodle. It has to have some quality to it. Think of your midterm as talking to your boss or an employer, and you're pitching it to it. Your ideas don't have to be completely polished, but they have to be well developed to be taken seriously. This is what I submitted when I took the class. You can see that I had a basic idea that I wanted a cabin, but this is the actual finished cabin. You can see that there was a lot more detail and I spent a lot more time on it than I did for the midterm. Once you guys propose, I highly recommend that if you have time, you start working so that you're not cramming everything on the last week, because I did that. It was stressful. Don't do it. So here is the final video submission that I did for class, and I hope that you enjoy it.